Shouldn't financial advice focus on you, your goals, challenges, dreams for the future? At Modern Woodman, our goal is to help you plan for your financial security. Our representatives are people you can trust to help bring your dreams to life. Modern Woodman can help you plan for all stages of life, from protection to saving to retirement.
Contact your local representative at Arthur today at 989-834-3300.
Modern Woodman of America, touching lives, securing futures.
This podcast contains some strong language and some stories involving violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Warfighters United, where veterans' voices are heard and transitional resources and programs provided. This podcast is brought to you by Modern Woodman Fraternal Financial, an organization that will help navigate life's most important decisions, from life insurance to college to financial planning. Modern Woodman has your family covered. To find out more, become part of the Modern Woodman family at modernwoodman.org. Today with me, my guest, Forrest Lang. He's an author of Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, a U.S. Navy veteran that has a deployment over to Iraq, and he's also a mentor in many different functions, from AA to Focus Marines Foundation. Forrest, welcome to Warfighters United.
Hey, man. How you doing?
No, not too bad. So I want to start off, before we get into your book, your upbringing in life wasn't the greatest. You've dealt with a lot of adversity, and you've transitioned to overcome a lot of things in life. What gave you that kind of perseverance?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if people are born with a desire to improve their life or not. That's kind of a tough question, man. I just always knew that I wanted to be somewhere better than where I was.
Yeah, and so what kind of propelled you to go into the Navy?
Well, I was homeless at 16, and I didn't have a high school diploma. So the Army, the Marines, and the Air Force wouldn't take me. So that's why I chose the Navy. And I just wanted to have an opportunity to build a life. And the military made that promise that if we serve, we get opportunities to get into a better place than we are if we want it.
Yeah, and so like many people in the military and many people who joined the service, they didn't feel like they had a family until they joined the service or joined the branch. Is that kind of similar to what you were feeling like when you joined up?
Yeah, I didn't really feel that when I joined, and I was not a super motivated sailor. I didn't enjoy the military, and I looked at it more of as a means to an end. And I didn't really understand what was happening for me until much later in life. I didn't realize how badly I had needed stability, positive role models, consistent relationships. I didn't, because it just was a foreign thing to me. In hindsight, it was the first family I ever experienced.
And like you did 4 years in the Navy. I like myself, right after my first deployment, I went over to Quantico. I got drunk in public, and, yet I still didn't have an issue. And then after my second deployment, we had to stay on base for 2 weeks for psych evals after Fallujah hit Haditha and Ramadi. During that time, all we did was drink like fish, and I ended up getting a summary court-martial. And yet I still didn't think I had a problem. What was your first 4 years like?
Well, I did 5 in my first enlistment.
5.
Foreman had to do an extra year for all that school. So I got in a little bit of trouble when I was 20, almost 21. I had a flashback at work from some childhood stuff, and I ended up having to go see the DAPA and the shrink, and they put me on meds, and I had a bad reaction to a combination of alcohol and Prozac, and punched a San Ysidro cop in the face. Ended up getting brought back to base. He turned and burned and went to rehab. And so I was still really trying to put the pieces together and just function my first enlistment.
Yeah, and so you get done with your 5 years, and you decide to go to art school. What was that like?
Yeah, that was the whole reason that I joined, was to be able to go to school. And I got out, and I started taking classes at the junior college here in San Diego, got a little studio apartment, and I really was enjoying going to school and feeling like the military had paid off. I did my time. I did it honorably, and I was ready to move forward with my life as an artist.
And yet something tragedy always happens. I was reading your book, Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption, and the first chapter blew me away. The 911 call.
Yeah, I made a stupid decision, and I take full responsibility for it. And I have found that it's possible to have regret, to feel like something completely destroyed me and ended someone else's life, and then to be able to work through and find forgiveness, which took some time. So I was playing with a gun with my friend Thomas, and it's still my responsibility, but the pistol malfunctioned. I pointed the gun at my friend. His last words were, "Don't you know you're not supposed to play with guns?" And we both laughed, and I pulled the trigger, and he died in my arms. And when somebody dies that way, it's not like in the movies where they're just immediately gone. It was horrific, and there was still energy and electricity in his body. So keeping pressure on his wound and giving him breaths was not easy. And after the paramedics pulled me off of my friend, he went to the hospital and was pronounced dead. And then his organs were used to save other lives, and I went to jail.
And so, when I was listening to the audiobook, it kept saying blackout. Is that just you're going through so much anxiety and so much turmoil inside that you just kind of blacked out for days at a time, or?
Well, remembering that was difficult. The mind can block out horrific things, so those were the flashes that I remember. I just wrote it that way to illustrate flashes of memory.
I got you. And so how long, it wasn't until one of your friend's dads, who believed in you, bailed you out. But, you talk about, going back to AA, and you talk about some of the people being mad, some of the people, accepted you. I could only imagine what that felt like.
Half and half. I had never experienced closeness with people like that, where when I got sober, I don't really like to say what group I was in because of the anonymity thing, but I was doing 12-step work. And there were other young men who were vulnerable with me, who offered friendship and closeness. And not only was my friend dead, and it was my fault, there was a pretty large abandonment from many of those people immediately after. And I used to have periods of disassociation and very intense flashbacks of Thomas's death. And I could be just sitting somewhere and then start screaming. And I didn't really understand what PTSD was at the time. I just felt awful and didn't really see much value in my own life or hope for the future.
And so you get bailed out, you go to trial, and you get acquitted.
Yeah, I spent 14 months or so waiting for a verdict for a trial. I mean, they did a jury trial. The prosecutor had offered me a deal where if I pled guilty to manslaughter, I could go to prison for 10 years. But I would have to sign a document saying that I did it on purpose, that I willfully acted with conscious disregard for my friend's life. And Thomas was a great guy, man. He was one in a million. And you know how they say, like, you don't want to be that person with a smile who lights up the room because the one who always dies is that person?
Yeah.
That was him, man. He spent his time in service to others. He was obviously an imperfect human being and a sober drug addict and alcoholic, but he saved my life and the lives of a lot of other people by offering connection and friendship and a sense of tribe. He just was that guy that people wanted to be around, and he loved people and they loved him.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. And I forget what your question was, but I fully expected to go to prison. I was facing 35 to life because if you use a firearm in the commission of a violent felony in California, it's an added 10 years, and then murder is 25.
Right.
So I thought for sure, because the jury had charged me with so many different things, that I was at least going to get convicted of involuntary manslaughter and do 5 years. That's what my attorney thought. That's what other people thought. And I was prepared to go to prison for the rest of my life. 35 years is a long time, especially to a 23, 24-year-old. And I was surprised, and I don't want to say disappointed that I did, because I felt I deserved to go to prison at the time. Yeah. But I just didn't know what to do once that jury said not guilty.
Right, and you even mentioned it in there. You're like, part of you kind of wanted to celebrate that you weren't going to prison for that long, but the other part felt so responsible that you should feel that way. Like you should. I
hated myself, man. I hated myself for that mistake. And
how did you deal with that?
Still wanted, because I share publicly, and people still want to judge me and my reactions and how I respond today and how my life is today as a result. And to those people, like, they haven't walked 1 second in my shoes, and I don't need their forgiveness anymore, because after about 10 years of just beating the hell out of myself, I learned what forgiveness is. And it doesn't mean that everything is okay or something bad didn't happen. It simply means to discontinue revenge and clear away resentment. That's it.
Yeah, the 3 R's.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you, when did you learn about the 3 R's? Is that also in the 12-step program, or is that something you learned later on?
Well, I found through a lot of personal development work that the ideas aren't really that different. The delivery of the ideas can vary here and there. But I went through a program called Focus Marines Foundation, and that's where I learned the modality of the 3 R's, and that was on the way to me finding forgiveness.
Well, I'm glad you found it. Now, after you were acquitted, you decided to go back into the Navy for, and I think in your book you were talking about how you were going to go back to the Navy, you're going to fight overseas, you're going to die for your country, and that was the whole idea.
Absolutely. I didn't feel that my life was honorable or worthwhile or worthy of mention. I used to, when I was a young corpsman, pass by the quarterdeck and stop and read the Medal of Honor declarations for all these hospital corpsmen from World War I all the way through to Vietnam. And I just got goosebumps reading about these men and their level of commitment and sacrifice and dedication. And I always admired them. And I thought, well, I am basically homeless. My girlfriend died in a car crash. My life is cursed and terrible. So maybe I can get back into the Navy and find an opportunity to give my life saving a Marine and be remembered in some good way after I was gone and do something with a life that I thought was worthless and wasted.
And so you ended up joining back into the Navy, and you got put with, what is it, 224 out of Tennessee? Or
324.
324.
Out of Johnson City.
Ah. And what was that like getting back into the Navy after everything that had happened before?
I wanted to forget about everything in the past and just be present as a hospital corpsman. I committed myself fully to getting back in shape and brushing up on my medical knowledge. I did a year with the Air Wing and got back in shape, got my uniforms together, got all that stuff squared away. And then when that year was coming to a close and I didn't deploy, I volunteered to go, what the corpsman used to call it was with division. So I volunteered to join a ground component. I wanted to go with, I said, the grunts. And I got placed with a reserve rifle company out of Tennessee, Lima Company 324.
And so, you start over a new leaf. You deployed to Iraq, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was that like, serving in Iraq? Now, this is the first time that you've been overseas, and I think originally that's what you thought you were going to do when you joined the Navy, but it didn't happen on your first tour. So now you're finally overseas with 324. What was that like going on missions with them?
Well, a lot of the people that listen to this are probably vets, and they probably know what that's like. I found it to be mostly very boring. A lot of waiting around for trucks and a lot of walking, and then periods of intensity. And those were the times where I looked for my opportunity, and I found myself having a dual hope for combat with guilt for hoping for combat to break the border, because combat could mean that one of my friends was hurt. So it was two things at the same time, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, tell me about the bus. In your book, you tell a story about a bus that hits an IED.
Yeah, I didn't really think much about that, and I felt some shame about it because it was my first combat, and my convoy was paused because there was an IED. These convoys were like a mile long.
Oh, yeah.
So an IED had gone off at the front of the convoy. We were bringing, I don't know, fuel or food or something from Ramadi to Al-Qaeda. And we're just on this road sitting there, and civilian traffic got impatient and started going off the blacktop around the convoy. And a civilian bus hit an anti-tank mine pretty close to my truck. I mean, I felt the percussion. And when I went over to the truck, to the bus, there was some carnage, and I thought that I had made this up in my mind, that there was a young boy standing in the carnage without a scratch on him. And later on, when I was writing Angel Blue, I started talking to my squad mates and asking them. He was there, and I picked him up and told him I loved him and brushed him off and brought him outside and checked him for injuries and handed him to a lady in the crowd. And my shame was for a couple of reasons. One, I had gotten written up for an award for that, and then the award was downgraded because I wasn't helping Americans. So what I took in as, oh, I messed up, I shouldn't be helping them and risking myself as a resource and the Marines that followed me in. And second, I had not been initiated into combat yet, so I still had a physical reaction, like shouting for help, and my hands were shaky. I didn't have that calm yet that I had developed after that initial combat experience. And that night, I woke up wetting the bed. So I had a tremendous amount of shame for every part of my action in that moment.
Well, I'm sure that you're not the only combat veteran that, the first time they get into some pretty wicked stuff where that kind of happens. I mean, that's actually kind of common sometimes when you really get into the middle of some stuff for that to happen later.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to talk about, because there's so much fake bravado around warfighting. And I believe that at some level that happens to everyone their first time, and then something clicks in the psyche and we become non-human.
Hello, I'm Eric Calley from the Warfighters United podcast, and Modern Woodman Fraternal Financial is hosting the 4th annual Trucking for Troops Veteran Raffle to benefit local veterans. The raffle's grand prize will be a brand new 2026 Chevrolet Silverado Crew Cab 4x4. Raffle tickets are $100 each. The drawing will take place on November 10th at 2 p.m. All proceeds from the raffle tickets will go towards supporting veterans. All tickets can be purchased at Modern Woodman, Shaheen Chevrolet, or the VFW Post 2406 in Charlotte.
We become something else.
See, I call it callousness. So after the first couple, you start being callous. Like I used to feel bad for the Iraqi people and stuff, but then when some crazy weird stuff happened with civilians that weren't civilians or this or that, the trust went away, the caring went away, and it was like an ice cold rock figure willing to, whether it was raiding houses. I mean, we would destroy places if we found more than 2 or 3 weapons or a huge amount of money, like they were feeding the Taliban or the Mujahideen. And you just become calloused after so long of being there.
War is an inhuman act. War is not a place for humanity. And Marlantes writes about it. He talks about being in the Temple of Mars and what it's like to go to war. So we attain the power of the gods, and we're no longer human beings. We are something else. And the problem with that is that if we don't get an opportunity when we come back to have some sort of ritual to return our humanity, it can be difficult to function in society after war.
Do you think that's why so many people are having a hard time transition after they get out of the service?
Yes, especially our combat veterans. I think that we have not brought in some sort of spiritual process to return humanity after war at least not completely culturally. There are groups that are doing this work. They use a process called initiation, and it's a terrific technology. It's an old technology that humans just did before we were what we are today. I believe that the process of taking warriors to sacred ground, guided by elders, facing their own death in a closed container where they only see each other, and then getting some sort of transitional object is valuable.
Kind of like EMDR?
Yeah, EMDR is a little bit different. Initiation, if you want to read about it, you could read it in Marlantis's book, or you could check out the Save a Warrior. I don't know if they're called a foundation or whatever. They do that work. But it's terrific work.
All right. Well, something else happened during your deployment. You know, you being an artist. Tell me about how you started tattooing.
Well, there was a senior enlisted leader who I had drawn some pictures for, and he told me to find out how much it would cost to get tattoo equipment. He was going to front the money to have me tattoo some people and then pay him back or whatever. And so I made a call to a tattoo artist friend of mine. We used to have these AT&T phone boxes where you could go get a calling card. We didn't have the cell phones and stuff then. So anyways, I called this dude, and he gave me a list of everything that I would need to buy. I got in the internet tent. I wrote everything all down, and it came out to about $3,600 for everything we needed. This particular senior enlisted guy didn't have that kind of money. But if anybody knows what it's like to live in a tight-knit deployed unit, it's like the smallest town in the world. And by the time the rumor went around that I might be getting tattoo stuff, and then it went around that there wasn't enough money, it went around a third time, and by the time it came back the third time, all the money was raised. And we were just lucky that our first sergeant and commanding officer were outlaws, and they said as long as no one else found out about it outside of our unit and no one got an infection, that we could do it. So we ordered tattoo stuff, and I started tattooing in northern Iraq. I did my very first tattoo July 1st of 2004. Holy
smokes. And so as you start tattooing, you made yourself a special hut to tattoo out of, correct?
I didn't make it. The boys did.
Okay.
They were really good at all the stuff. I could draw pictures and do medical stuff, and I followed them around for everything else. So there was this shed, and they just acquired stuff. I think I went to the Army firehouse to steal the air conditioner.
That's a typical Marine thing to do, even though you're in the Navy, but, you're with the Marines, so that does not surprise me.
Tactical acquisition. Yes. I had a tough time with Marine terms. The first time we were all going to drive somewhere, I was like, so we're going to, make a train? And they were like, Doc, we like to call it a convoy, but if you need to call it a train, that's cool. I was never really that into, being tactical military guy,
Yeah.
But yeah, we built this shack, we found some paint, painted the walls. We made, it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I got to wonder, after you left Iraq, the next people that came into that shack was probably like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. I wonder if they kept tattooing there.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. So you get back from your deployment, you get out of the Navy, and, you're huge into the 12-step program and the AA and helping other people out nowadays. What did you do after your deployment to transition from being in combat?
Well, I got an apartment, and I got a job, and I started tattooing. And then I got a job offer in Arizona to work as a tattoo artist full-time. And I think the biggest thing that helped me in the beginning was getting a motorcycle. I was tattooing this Marine And I was telling him that some days my hands shake and I just feel all this anxiety and I have to go home from work. And he was like, well, I got an old motorcycle in my front yard. Probably needs tires. And if you cleaned out the carburetor, I bet you could fire it up. And my boss was a biker guy, and he helped me go get this motorcycle, and we got it running. And that was the first thing that really gave me some relief and like that feeling of transition. It's over now. Now I'm doing something different.
Right. We call those donor cycles for guys who don't ride motorcycles. People don't watch for you guys.
I've heard that.
and so, what is Sparta 12?
So Sparta Peer Support is a weekly group in San Diego for all veterans and first responders, where we meet, we do a little meditation, read some cool literature, and share on a topic once a week. It's a humble little nonprofit. We meet at Veterans Village of San Diego Monday nights at 7. And I feel that it's important to have a place for vets to go that isn't tied to necessarily addiction or religion or specific type of trauma or something. Just a place where vets can go, be in community with each other, meet up and talk about stuff like your nonprofit, your show, other people that come on. That way we're just all connected.
Right.
And
word of mouth is
community
key.
Support. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what other programs are you involved in, Forrest?
Well, I'm involved with Focus Marines Foundation. I typically go there 4 times a year and help out where I can. And I am involved with another group that empowers human trafficking survivors, and it is called Shine San Diego.
Tell me about that.
So what Shine does is come up underneath trafficking survivors and lift them from below. So if a person can make $200, $300, $400, $500 a day, and then they want to get out of that life, and they go work in a factory making $12 an hour, that can be tough. You got to do what you got to do. But what Shine does is teach survivors to be entrepreneurs and start their own businesses. That way, they still have that same feeling of, hey, I'm my own boss. I'm making money, but I just don't have to anymore and be exploited by someone else.
And so you also help out in another way too with tattoos, correct?
Yeah, from time to time, I have a vision for a project called Whole Heart Tattoo. So I support a group called Unbranded for a Fresh Start, and they are an organization that removes tattoos from trafficking survivors, many of whom are children. They also go around, Fresh Start goes around the world and does cleft palate repair, and they're just such a great group of people. And so I work to help spread the word about them on social media, and we have the possibility of a collaboration coming in the future. Most of the human trafficking cover-ups that I've done in the past are just, hey, I've done it for fun and for free, and help people reclaim their body. Your body shouldn't be a crime scene. And covering up those tattoos that are typically like a pimp's name or something like that can really give a person back a piece of themselves.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you've got to think that they probably stared at that tattooed, for long periods of time while they were being forced to do things that humans shouldn't be forced to do. And, feeling the lowest of the low, getting that taken care of just seems like it would be freeing.
Yeah, but it isn't always.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of cultural support, there's a lot of judgment placed on people that end up in those situations. And a lot of them, man, like of course, we all have responsibility for our own actions, but many of them come from broken homes. There isn't really much other opportunity. They're groomed in young. Like it's a tough situation. Yeah, no, I mean, it can't be easy. So what do you think is some of the best things, for people that have went through, a hard upbringing, been sexually assaulted, in poverty, trying to survive, what do you think is some of the most important things to do if you went through it? Honestly, really, I think it's mindset. We get this life one time, and we can't control what happened in the past. And there's much argument about how to deal with this. Some people would say to forget and suck it up and just, especially as men, just go out and produce and conquer and don't even ever speak of things in the past, because if you do, you're making excuses. Can I cuss on this podcast? You can do whatever you want, Forrest. Yeah, they say you're being a little bitch or like whatever, fucking suck it up, you're lame, whatever, all that stuff I've been called. So I think that is not from a place of power or empowerment. I think that it's important to process what happened in the past and acknowledge it and be kind, and at the same time, switch the mindset. How do I switch this mindset? Usually it's by meditation, becoming present, and being aware of what I'm saying and what I'm putting out into the world. If I declare that I'm a loser and bad things always happen to me and stuff's never going to get better, guess what? The rest of my whole consciousness is going to believe that and create that. We walk around unaware of what we're doing and what we're creating most of the time. And sometimes we'll look back, I'm in the same situation again. How do I keep ending up in the same situation? Because it's programming. And it takes repetition and emotional involvement to change programming. Yeah, programming can be difficult. Dude, absolutely. So I think that it starts with becoming present and becoming aware. And the way that we develop awareness is through meditation. And meditation's not some like unattainable fancy white robe crystal shit. It's a physical exercise of holding the body still and being non-reactive. Because if I can sit still long enough, things become more clear to me. And then also to be aware and practice what I say out loud. I am a winner. I am a good person. There are good things ahead for me, because the rest of me will just believe that and drive me in that direction. I think those are words of wisdom, Forrest. Get any more words of wisdom? So. Well, I guess wisdom is a combination of knowledge and experience. And I don't claim to have all the wisdom or even much, but I have learned that for sure there is no magic answer, one thing, I'm going to go do ayahuasca in Peru and all of a sudden my life's going to be peachy and roses all the time, right? This stuff takes work. Well, usually it's a group of things put together. It's not just one thing. It's one thing, another thing, and another thing. And when you start combining all that knowledge together, you start having a different outlook. I look at spiritual growth the same way I do as physical fitness. If I want to bench press 260 and I weigh 110 pounds, I'm probably not going to walk into the gym and bench press 260. I'm probably going to need to change my diet. I'm probably going to need to start bench pressing 5 pounds. And it might take me some years, but it is possible. It's the same with meditation. People go, I can't meditate. Well, yes, you can. You are physically able to plant your ass in the chair and hold your body still for 20 minutes. You can do it. No, of course. And that's why, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi even,
That has all helped with not only connecting your body to the ground, being, grounded, but to relaxation and breathing techniques, right?
Yes, absolutely. And a practice that works really well for me are the 5 pillars of servant leadership. So it's essentially a spiritual or religious practice that can be done with or without any religious belief. So the practice of service, being of service to other people, dedicating my time or talent, contribution, giving a portion of what I have to a group that does work that I support, not giving a bum $1, but contributing to somebody who does something good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Affirmation or prayer, which is saying things out loud. Let's see, I got service, study, contribution, acknowledgement, saying to people in my life or about creatures or things in my life what I appreciate about them. And I'm having a brain fart.
I think that was 5.
Service, study, contribution,
affirmation, and acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not a scientist. It's hard to count to 5 sometimes.
No, you're good. I'm not a scientist either. I have to think of some things.
I'm not a rocket Scientologist, bro.
I love it. That's like, what was the term in the Marine Corps? Herpetogonosyphilis. Is that what you caught this weekend?
Well, and I think that also many of us who served, especially around the Marine Corps, forget that those core values that we learned still apply today.
Oh, yeah. Honor, courage, commitment.
Part of our life. Absolutely. And those are valuable in life. And they just kind of become like invisible in the background. It's just something that's on the wall by the quarterdeck or something like that, or something that you see when you watch the annual Commandant's message on the birthday. But never forget who you are.
Of course.
You are powerful, man, and you are capable, you are courageous, you are capable of great things, and taking that skill set and applying it in life today will benefit you and your community. No one else is going to do it. No one's coming to save us. It's up to us.
No, I like that. And on that note, Forrest, I think we're going to hem this up. I want to thank you for coming on Warfighters United. As always, you motivated me a week and a half ago when I was down at Focus Marines Foundation again. And, learning some of the new stuff. I hope to be volunteering there in the future as well. But keep up the good fight, man. You're a sign of positivity, and you know what you're putting out to the world, and what you're putting out to the world is infectious.
Oh, well, thanks, buddy. You too.
Yeah. So, Angel Blue, A Song of Redemption. They can look that up. They can find it, on Amazon?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, the audiobooks, anywhere you can get audiobooks. And if you want a hard soft cover, you can get it on Amazon or at my website if you want it signed.
And what's that website for us?
Angelbluebook.com, all one word.
Angelbluebook.com. Well, all right. It. If you guys want to listen to more about Warfighters United, you can go to warfightersunited.com. And if you're having a problem transitioning, or you're looking for a transitional program or resources or whatnot, you can always find me or email me at warfightersunitedpodcast@gmail.com. And Forrest, thanks for coming on Warfighters United.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's an honor. Have a great day.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
To speak with Eric Calley and Warfighters United, you can email him at eric@warfightersunited.com or call 517-699-0111.